Given what we've seen in terms of just the, whatever it is now, 72 straight days of protest in some cities, how much hope do you have in this moment? I mean, it's a very hard moment to be optimistic, but on the other hand, we do seem to be seeing a kind of progressive social formation that isn't quite like anything we've seen in a generation. How are you looking at our collective future long about now?
I think I still believe that this is the most hopeful I've ever been. And part of it has to do with the fact that people understand or seem to be understanding from the rhetoric that we're talking about systemic change, not an individual, not a bad guy, not white people over here or white people over there or anything, but that this, Matt, is sort of your work. This is the work that you have done in terms of teaching people how to think about whiteness as structural, a thing constructed with aims and commitments within the United States. And I think for the first time, I see organizations understanding that. I see even the government in some ways acknowledging that. Not everyone, obviously, but I feel like the rhetoric and the desire for education and reformation is coming as much from institutions as it's coming from individuals. And that's the thing that gives me hope.
Mm-hmm. It's so funny that you should say that, and thank you, because I was thinking the same thing about your work. I was thinking, the question I've been asking everybody is, what does the pandemic teach? And there's a very real sense in which, to me, the pandemic teaches things that you've been saying for a decade or more, right? Especially Citizen. I think of a book like Citizen and all that it has to say about our society of aggression, really. I've been thinking a lot about Citizen and thinking about, as a poet who's been focused so much on questions of social justice, does this moment open up a space for you to do a new kind of writing, a different kind of writing, or to push your writing maybe further than you feel that you've been able to? Because it seems like your natural audience has suddenly not only multiplied, but has actually caught up with, or is much closer in its thinking to where you've been in your thinking.
Well, thank you for that as well. I do think that a lot of us have been out there saying these things for many, many years. And these things, I mean, the culture of anti-Black violence will catch up with us. We really need to look at it. We need to face it. We need to understand that it can start small and land big and often ends in the murder of Black people. And also, conversely, that white nationalism is real and active and a real force in terms of how things have been organized in the United States inside this democracy. For a while, I felt like when I first started saying these things and writing these things, people were sort of, good for you, Claudia. Okay, thank you. And it was, I can't tell you, Matt, sometimes I would go into these auditoriums with thousands of people and you could just feel the lack of love in a way, not love, but the sense of like, we don't really want to hear this. We don't need to hear it. Just do your thing. And thank you very much.
We're here. A sense of civic obligation.
Exactly. And it really took a kind of internal force to just do it anyway, to understand that it was not the popular thing to say. I was not in a moment of total agreement publicly, and that it couldn't matter. It shouldn't matter. That I knew what I knew, and I was going to say it. And there were people like you who had been doing the work, and Robin DiAngelo is getting a lot of flack right now, but I think she'd been doing the work, and all these people, and I was going to bring them with me. I was going to bring them all with me. I was going to say, look at this person, do this, say this, Baldwin, everything. I was going to do it. And sometimes it felt very lonely. And it's not that I haven't been lauded and given prizes and things like that, but that doesn't really account for the moment when you're actually in real time. And you have these white men glaring at you. So it is nice, nice is a weird word, but it's an interesting moment for me as an artist, because I do feel like suddenly I'm in real time. People are saying things that I have been saying as ordinary things now. And that's kind of cool. But then it does ask me, what am I going to say next if I don't need to be saying those things? And so for me, the pandemic is really a time where I can kind of step back, think about other channels and pathways to go down in terms of my own work. So I do appreciate this moment as a moment of reflection as well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.